My sister dumped her kids on me for 2 months and threatened to destroy my career if I refused. The doorbell jolted me awake, almost midnight. My apartment was dead quiet, except for that sound. It rang again, sharper, impatient. I shuffled to the door, half convinced I was dreaming. When I opened it, the sight froze me. 2 kids, backpacks slipping from their shoulders, sneakers untied, eyes tired but scared. My niece and nephew. And behind them, leaning on her car with that smug grin, my sister. Before I could even speak, she pushed the kids toward me. "They're staying with you," she said flatly. I let out a nervous laugh. "What? You can't just..." She leaned closer, her voice a knife. "Say no, and I'll tell your boss what you did last year." My stomach dropped. The kids stared at me, wide-eyed. Her engine roared as she drove away. Then a small voice whispered, "Do we live here now?" I pulled them inside, shutting the door a little too hard. Their backpacks hit the floor with a dull thud. I picked one up. It felt almost empty. A crumpled t-shirt, one toothbrush. That was it. No toys, no comfort, nothing. The fridge wasn't much better. I reheated 2 slices of cold pizza, slid them across the table. They poked at it but barely ate, eyes half closed, shoulders sagging. I spread blankets on the couch, tucking them in the best I could. Finally, the apartment went dark. Just as my own eyes started to close, a whisper broke the silence. "Why doesn't Mom want us?" I froze. The words hit harder than my sister's threat. My throat locked. I couldn't answer. The younger one drifted to sleep. The older just stared at the ceiling. And me? I sat there, wide awake, drowning in silence. Morning came like a storm. Cereal spilled across the counter, shoes missing, backpacks overturned. Meanwhile, my laptop chimed. Zoom call in 30 seconds. I herded the kids into the living room, clicked join meeting, and forced a professional smile. But chaos bled through. A crash, a scream. The younger one burst in, sobbing. "I can't find my backpack." I scrambled to mute, yanked her out, whispered through clenched teeth, "Please, just sit quietly." My boss raised an eyebrow on screen. Deadlines slipped. Coffee became my diet. Nights shrank to 3 hours of restless sleep, but it wasn't only me unraveling. The older one pushed breakfast away, untouched. The younger clung to my arm whenever I tried to leave the room, and every night the same question. When will Mom call? The phone stayed silent, and so did I. By the end of week 1, my apartment looked like a war zone. Dirty bowls stacked in the sink, backpacks scattered like landmines across the floor. 2 kids, endless noise, 0 sleep. Work didn't pause just because my life exploded. I muted myself every 5 seconds to break up arguments. "Give it back. Stop touching me." At one point, I forgot I was unmuted and snapped, "Just sit down." My boss's face tightened. But what scared me most wasn't my slipping job. It was the kids. Every night they asked when their mom would call, and every night the phone stayed silent. The older one started skipping meals, pushing cold toast around his plate. The younger one cried if I left the room. And then, late one night, I heard muffled sobs, a tiny whisper. "I think she forgot about us." That whisper, "I think she forgot about us," echoed in my head all night. By morning, I was running on fumes. Emails piled up, deadlines blurred. At one point, I actually fell asleep at my desk, waking to the sound of kids arguing in the next room. I tried to keep up appearances, coffee in one hand, laundry basket in the other, Zoom calls with my camera angled just right to hide the chaos. But I was slipping. Everyone could see it. The kids felt it too. The older one stopped asking about their mom. The younger one clung tighter than ever, like letting go might mean losing me too. And then, scrolling my phone one night, I saw it. A selfie of my sister in Las Vegas. Neon lights, drink in hand, hashtag mom break. My stomach twisted. She hadn't just abandoned them. She was celebrating it. The photo burned into my eyes. Vegas neon glowing behind her. Glass raised high, caption screaming, "Living my best life." While I was drowning in work, sleepless nights, and 2 heartbroken kids, she was partying. The comments from her friends made it worse. "You deserve it, queen. So glad you're finally free." Free from her own children. I slammed my phone onto the couch. My hands shook. The anger wasn't quiet anymore. It was boiling. That night, I called Jenna, my best friend, and unloaded everything. The blackmail, the endless nights, the Vegas trip. Her voice was steady, sharper than mine. "Call CPS. This isn't safe for them." My stomach dropped. I had thought it, never said it. Hearing it out loud felt like crossing a line I couldn't erase. I whispered back, "I can't. Can I?" Jenna's words wouldn't leave me. "Call CPS. This isn't safe for them." I paced the kitchen long after we hung up. Every option felt like a trap. If I called, I'd be betraying my sister. If I stayed silent, I'd be betraying the kids. And hanging over it all. Her threat, one phone call from her, and my career could vanish. But then I looked at them, curled up on the couch, the younger one's thumb in her mouth, the older one's arm stretched protectively across her. They weren't just visiting anymore, they were surviving. I whispered into the empty room, almost afraid to hear it myself. Maybe CPS isn't the nuclear option. Maybe it's the only option. In the silence that followed, I felt my chest tighten, because saying it meant I might actually do it. By week 3, I was running on fumes. I showed up late to meetings. Emails went unanswered. Deadlines slipped through my fingers. One morning, I actually nodded off at my desk. When I opened my eyes, my boss was staring straight at me. She didn't say a word then, but later, she called me into her office. Door closed, arms crossed. "You've been slipping. This isn't like you. What's going on?" My throat went dry. The truth clawed at my lips. My sister's threats, the kids, the sleepless nights. But then I saw her smirk in my mind. Her warning, one word, and your career is gone. So I lied. "Just stress. I'll figure it out." My boss's eyes narrowed. "Do it soon." Walking back to my desk, my chest sank. At home, the kids needed me more every day. At work, the walls were closing in. The first call came on a Wednesday. The number flashed across my screen. Elementary school. My stomach dropped before I even answered. The teacher's voice was polite, but worry bled through. "They've been distracted, missing assignments. The younger one seems withdrawn. Is everything okay at home?" I forced a shaky laugh. "They're fine. Their mom's just on a work trip. Things will settle down soon." Silence lingered. Then the teacher replied carefully, "If things don't improve, we may need to involve the counselor." I hung up with trembling hands. The last thing I needed was more eyes on us. On me. But I couldn't shake the truth. It wasn't just me slipping. That night, homework sat untouched on the table. Finally, the older one whispered what I'd been afraid of hearing. "She's not coming back, is she?" Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. Every night, one of them woke up crying, terrified their mom had forgotten forgotten them for good. I'd sit on the floor by the couch, rubbing their backs until their breathing slowed. By the time they drifted off, dawn was already pressing at the blinds. Coffee kept me upright, barely, but guilt was heavier than exhaustion. I didn't know what to tell them anymore. Every question, why doesn't she call? Did we do something wrong? Cut deeper than the last. One night, the younger one whispered, eyes wet with tears, I think she doesn't love us. The words cracked something inside me. I pulled her close, my throat burning, because in that moment, I realized I wasn't just babysitting, I was all they had. The chaos never stopped. Spilled cereal, forgotten lunches, homework battles, but something unexpected started happening. Little cracks of light. The younger one insisted I read bedtime stories, even when my voice was hoarse. The older one started helping me pack lunches, quietly slipping a cookie into my bag. Don't forget to eat, he'd mumble. Those tiny gestures broke me more than the sleepless nights ever could. They weren't just surviving, they were adapting. And in their own way, teaching me to adapt too. For the first time, I wondered if they might be better off here, with me. But the thought carried a dangerous weight, because if I admitted that, it meant their mom wasn't coming back. And deep down, I was starting to believe it. Almost 2 months had crawled by when the knock came again. Same door, same sound. I opened it, half expecting another delivery, but it was her, my sister. Designer sunglasses perched on her head, suitcase in hand, perfume cloud trailing behind her. She breezed past me like she owned the place. Miss me, she chirped, flashing that same smug smile. The kids froze. For a heartbeat, hope lit their faces. Then it faded. They didn't run to her. They just stared. She clapped her hands together. Thanks so much for helping out. You're a lifesaver. Now, where are my babies? My stomach twisted. Not this time. I stepped between her and the kids. Her smile faltered. Excuse me, she snapped. I stood my ground, voice shaking but steady enough. You don't get to walk back in like nothing happened. Her sunglasses clattered onto the counter as she rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic. They're my kids, not yours. The younger one shrank behind me, clutching my arm. A whisper I'll never forget. Don't let her take us. That was it. The line I couldn't ignore. I squared my shoulders. You don't just vanish for 2 months and waltz back like nothing happened. Her smile sharpened into something venomous. She stepped closer, voice low and poisonous. Then maybe it's time I reminded you who's really in control. My chest tightened. She leaned in, her breath hot against my ear. Hand them over, or I make that call. Don't forget, I still know about your little incident. One word, and your career is gone. The room fell silent except for the kids' nervous breathing, and I realized this wasn't a threat. It was a war. Her words coiled around me like chains. That secret I thought was buried, suddenly hanging over my head again. For a second, fear won. I pictured my boss's face, the judgment, the career I'd lose. But then I looked down. 2 pairs of eyes, wide and pleading. One small hand gripping my sleeve like I was the only lifeline left, and something inside me shifted. I straightened. Go ahead, I said, my voice steady. Tell my boss. I don't care anymore. Her smirk cracked, just slightly. She hadn't expected that. For the first time, I wasn't the one cornered. She was, and she had no idea about the move I'd already made, because the truth was, I wasn't powerless anymore. I'd already called CPS. Her smirk snapped back into place. You think you're brave now? Without that job, you're nothing. Hand them over before I cut her off. Before what? Ruin me? Newsflash. You don't get that power anymore. She blinked, thrown off by my calmness. Her eyes narrowed. What are you saying? I stepped closer. I already called CPS. They know everything. About the kids. About Vegas. About you. For the first time, her confidence cracked. The color drained from her face. You didn't. I held her gaze. Try me. The kids shifted behind me, sensing the shift, even if they didn't understand the words. For once, it wasn't me trapped in her threats. It was her, and she knew it. 2 days later, the knock came again, but this time, it wasn't my sister. A woman stood there, clipboard in hand, calm but firm. Child Protective Services, she introduced herself. The kids froze on the couch, clutching pillows like shields. I knelt beside them. It's okay, they're here to help. The interview was brutal. She asked the kids where their mom had been, how long they'd stayed with me, if this had happened before. To my shock, they nodded, quietly, hesitantly. Yes, she had left them before, sometimes with neighbors, sometimes for days. My stomach turned. I thought Vegas was her first stunt. It wasn't. It was a pattern. The social worker scribbled notes, her eyes narrowing. This will go to the caseworker. When she left, the kids clung to me tighter than ever, and I realized this wasn't temporary anymore. Weeks later, an envelope landed in my mailbox. Thick, official, heavy. Inside, papers stamped with bold letters. Court hearing scheduled. My hands shook as I read. My sister was being investigated for neglect, and I was listed as guardian witness. The weight of it pressed into my chest. This wasn't just family drama anymore. It was legal, permanent. The kids sensed it too. The older one asked, "Are they gonna take us away?" I swallowed hard. No, not without me there. The night before court, I barely slept. Every worst-case scenario looped in my head. What if my sister twisted the story? What if CPS didn't believe me? But one thing was certain. I couldn't back down now. Not after everything. The kids needed stability. And tomorrow, a judge would decide their fate. The courtroom felt heavier than air. Every sound echoed. The shuffle of papers, the cough of strangers, the judge's gavel. My sister strutted in like she owned the place. Sunglasses gone, but the smugness stayed. She slid into her seat, chin high, like this was all beneath her. When the charges were read, abandonment, repeated neglect, failure to provide stable care. Her face barely flinched. Then it was her turn to speak. She leaned forward, voice dripping with fake sweetness. I just needed a break. Everyone exaggerates. My kids are fine. The judge's eyes narrowed. Photos from Vegas lit up the screen. Screenshots of her hashtags. Mom break, living, my best life. Her smile faltered, but the hardest blow wasn't mine. It came when the teacher's report was read aloud. Missed assignments, withdrawal, concern for safety. For the first time, I saw fear flicker across her face. The judge's voice cut through the room, sharp and final. This court has heard enough. My sister shifted in her seat, gripping the table edge. For once, she wasn't smirking. The judge listed her failures one by one. Abandoning the children, leaving them with neighbors for days. Documented neglect, the Vegas trip. Each word landed like a hammer. Her lawyer tried to spin it. She's a single mother under stress. She just needed time. The judge silenced him with a glare. These children deserve deserve stability. Effective immediately, you will attend mandatory parenting classes and counseling. Custody will be reassessed only after proof of progress. Gasps rippled across the courtroom. My sister's jaw clenched, eyes darting toward me with pure venom. But for the first time, she had no control. And she knew it. A week after court, the caseworker came by again. This time, she asked to speak with the kids, alone. I waited in the kitchen, heart pounding, straining to catch fragments through the thin wall. Soft questions, long silences, little voices. When she finally emerged, clipboard tucked under her arm, her expression was careful, but kind. They were very clear, she told me quietly. They feel safe with you. They want to stay here. My chest tightened. Relief, pride, heartbreak, all at once. The kids weren't supposed to choose, but after months of broken promises and silence, they had. That night, the older one climbed onto the couch beside me. Can we stay here forever? He whispered. I forced a smile, throat burning. You'll always have a place here, always. And for the first time, I realized I meant it. The letter arrived on a gray Tuesday. Official seal, heavy paper. I tore it open with shaking hands. Inside, the words blurred before my eyes. Temporary custody granted. I read it twice, 3 times. The kids were officially under my care. Legally, not just by circumstance. A wave of relief washed over me, followed by panic. This wasn't babysitting anymore. This was parenthood. When I told them, their reactions broke me. The younger one squealed, wrapping her arms around my waist. The older one just whispered, finally, like he'd been holding his breath for months. But not everyone celebrated. That night, my phone buzzed with my sister's name. Her voice screeched through the speaker. You think you've won? You think you're a hero? You stole my kids. I muted the call, because in the next room, they were sleeping soundly. By morning, it wasn't just phone calls, it was Facebook. My sister flooded her page with rants. My evil siblings stole my kids, brainwashing them against me. All lies just to look like a hero. Screenshots flew through the family group chat. Some relatives demanded answers. Others quietly admitted they didn't believe her. But the worst part? She painted herself as the victim, posting crying selfies, writing long captions about being a misunderstood mom. Her friends showered her with sympathy. Stay strong, mama. They'll see the truth one day. Meanwhile, I was the silent villain in her story. It hurt. But when I looked at the kids, finally laughing over breakfast, finally at ease, I knew the truth wasn't online. It was here, and no Facebook rant could erase that. It was past midnight when my phone lit up. Her name. Against my better judgment, I answered. Her voice exploded through the speaker. Raw, furious. You think you've won? You ruined my life. You turned everyone against me. I sat in the dark, staring at the kids' closed bedroom door. They were finally sleeping peacefully. You think you're some hero, she spat, but you're nothing, nothing. I'll make sure you regret this. Her words should have rattled me. Once, they would have, but now, they didn't. I let the silence stretch, her anger bouncing into emptiness. Finally, I whispered, they're safe here. That's all that matters. Her scream cracked the line before the call ended. I set the phone down, my hands steady for the first time, because for once, her threats didn't control me. Life didn't magically get easier after court, but it got clearer. Mornings turned into a rhythm. Cereal bowls clinking, backpacks zipped, pep talks at the door. Afternoons meant homework spread across the kitchen table. The younger one doodling in the margins, the older one quizzing me on math problems I hadn't solved in years. Some nights I collapsed before they even made it to bed. But then, a small hand would tug a blanket over me, or a quiet good night would drift from the couch. It wasn't perfect. It was messy, exhausting, relentless. But it was ours. One evening, while stacking dishes, the older one looked up at me. This feels like home now, he said simply. 4 words, more powerful than anything my sister had ever said. And for the first time in months, I believed them. Sometimes late at night, I replay that first knock. The backpacks, the tears, my sister's smug smile as she drove away. Back then, I thought she was about to ruin my life. And in a way, she did. My career stumbled, my health tanked, my world flipped upside down. But what I didn't see was what I would gain. 2 kids who trusted me when their own mother didn't. 2 souls who taught me resilience, patience, and love I never expected. My sister thought power meant threats and blackmail. But in the end, she lost the one thing she never valued until it was gone. Her children. She tried to break me. Instead, she gave me the greatest gift I could imagine. Not a burden, not a secret, a family.